Okay. My feed is a little bad. All right. So I am making this video because of something very dear to my heart. And that is this issue of our nation being severely underprepared for disaster. And when I say severely underprepared, I'm talking about to the point of not having any provisions or not making any preparation for the times that are very, very, very near and ahead of us. This is not like an end of the world kind of video as much as it is a necessity for preparation these last days. And the past like week, I have had like severe I don't even know what it is. Just I want to call it anxiety, but I don't want to term it something that it's not really. But I want to. It has been like crippling me thinking about how underprepared we are as a nation, and just how underprepared I feel like my family is, and I felt like we were pretty well prepared as far as knowing what to do and how to go about things in time of disaster. And so really that's what this video is about, and I'm obviously always going to use the scripture to support whatever I'm talking about. This video is being made because not every woman in our community has a male or a man or somebody that they can depend on to prepare for them and their children. And then some of us who are in this community do have that. And so I feel like it's important for us to share the information and the knowledge and the way that we're being prepared. And also some of us don't have, some women in this walk don't have spouses who are in the truth. And that's a really big deal. So you being conscious about what's happening in the world and being with someone who is not can make you complacent in a sense. So I want to go over first the reason why I'm doing this. And because I know even within the Hebrew community, there are teachings and things that talk about you just have to depend on Yah. And honestly, I obviously believe that everything tells us to depend on Yah, but even our preparedness is our way of depending on Yah. For those of you who are not familiar, I'm going to recommend that you read the story in its entirety. And in its entirety, meaning read this whole complete story, both of these I'm going to give examples of, because our disaster preparedness for those of us who are conscious of our heritage and our culture comes from the scripture. Not because we're super religious or not because we're just like, oh, we're just going to believe in Yah, but because he gives detailed instructions in some of the worst disasters ever. And those who survive them are those who heed his instruction. Okay? So that's very, 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 very important. All right. So first and foremost, survival depends on obedience. Obedience, obedience, obedience. It is very important. And your obedience is first to Torah. And then your second obedience is to observe those things around you and then see how they're lining up with those things in Torah. And I remember telling you guys that when I say Torah, I'm talking about all the instructions of Scripture. Torah is an instruction. It is how you heed. It is how you go about your way of life. Okay? All right. So our first major instruction for disaster comes with Noah, right? Noah got instruction from the Father about the pending destruction of the world. Now, we're not just talking, his little village or his little town, but it's for the world, Okay? And when Noah got this instruction, remember, no one believed Noah. Noah preached about, so he gave warning for 120 years. And as he was giving the warning, he was building an ark. He was preparing, okay, for him, his family, and whoever else would heed the message, okay? This went on for 120 years. My first point is that just because you are called, just because you are set apart, does not mean that you are exempt from destruction. The destruction is coming whether or not you feel like you have some kind of special privilege, okay? You still have to heed the instructions to not be caught in the destruction, okay? Noah builds an ark. So Noah is saved because of obedience. His faith in Yah prompted him to be obedient to his instruction, and then he was saved. Okay, so this idea of him just saying, oh, okay, well, the Most High spoke to me and he's, I'm not going to be destroyed because I'm righteous. Remember, he was the only righteous one, him and his family, right? But their righteousness didn't save them. Their obedience saved them. Okay, we have to keep that in mind. Okay, so Noah goes ahead and he prepares. He prepares a place. He prepares provision. He also listens to Yah on how he wanted those animals to be saved from the destruction as well, and also make provision for others who would be able to be saved as well. It did not stop the destruction from happening, but it saved his family by them being prepared. Okay. Second story is the Exodus. This one is the most important because scripture is cyclical. You've heard me say that a lot. Scripture is cyclical, and by cyclical, it means that history and the way that we react to destruction and the way that we are redeemed as a people is also cyclical. So it's going to happen in the same exact manner. The place may be different and the generation may be different, but how we are redeemed and the things leading up to that are going to be very, very similar, okay? In the issue of the Exodus, the Most High had prepared a place called Goshen. Okay, Goshen was given to the children of Israel during the famine that Joseph helped Pharaoh with. Okay, Goshen, though, was not the place where they went after the destruction of Egypt. So the place that was prepared was left as well. Okay, so if, let's just say, because there is the teaching out there that we are in a Goshen, which, I mean, I'm not going to argue with that. We are in a place where we are in our captivity, but we're set apart, right? But it's getting bad. If you read through the story of Exodus, that place, right, that after captivity or after destruction or after that most people end up in, if you stay too long, it begins... Yah is going to force you out of it, okay? So a lot of people are comfortable in their self-created Goshens in the United States. I'm not talking about the flea doctrine. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm going to get to my point. All I'm saying is don't get so comfortable in your nice home or in your not nice home if you don't feel like your home is nice. Don't get so comfortable in your job. Don't get so comfortable in any of those man-made situations that you forget that this is not your home, okay? This is not your home. I don't care what people say about doctrines, about, okay, well, the indigenous people, this is not your home. Because if it is, and the Most High and in the kingdom reassigns you to this place, fine. But every place must be destroyed. We have no home. Our home is in the New Jerusalem. Our home is in the New Jerusalem. Even if we get to Israel, we will be under occupation, because our home has been overtaken. So remember that anywhere you are, you have to be making provisions for this wilderness journey that all of us are going to participate in. This is not singular to just us who have been exiled to America. This is not just singular to us who have been able to return to the land. This is just not singular to It's for all of us. All of us that have been scattered have to be regathered, which means that we're all going to go through the birthing pains and the uncomfortability of living in a land that is not being controlled by our HaMashiach with a righteous rule and a righteous law. Okay? The instructions that were given ahead of time. Just like with Noah, Moshe, and the instructions were given ahead of time. There were signs, right? There were plagues and disasters that happened. They didn't necessarily directly affect the people because they were in their prepared place. But when it came to the disaster or the last plague of the death angel, something very, very, very specific about this one. The last plague that led to the Exodus required that the people participate in their preparedness. The first 9 plagues, the Most High sets them apart. He says, this is going to happen to them and not to you, so that you know that there's a difference between you and them. And then this plague is going to happen to them and not to you, so that you know that there's a difference between you and them. When it comes to that 10th plague, there was a requirement from the people that they had to participate in. That requirement was what we call the Passover, where they had to prepare not only the blood of the lamb, and put it over their doors, but they also bake cakes, or they bake the bread. And the reason why it was unleavened, because it didn't have time to rise. Whole nother situation. We'll deal with the idea of unleavened bread during Passover. But this idea that they had to make their provisions for their journey is something that we really want to deal with right now. Okay, so I'm going to finish out the story, and then I'll deal with how we're going to make our provisions and how we're going to be proactive and prepared for whatever is to come. Okay, so they had to make their provisions for the journey. This was not this whole like, oh, yeah, I just dropped off sack lunches at everybody's door. And no, you participated. He also made a provision within that provision that those who did not have enough or those who had too much would then provide a place for other families. If you have more than enough, then you need to invite somebody else over to partake in what you are preparing. Okay? So what ends up happening is this. We don't get it this way in English, and but we can see it now because knowing us as the people, we can see how different doctrines and things could go around, and people could be so caught up in their Egyptian at that time, or their Babylonian, their confusion, their confused mind, or in their American or in their westernized mindset that they would say, well, none of the other plagues affected us, so why should we prepare for this one? Yah had Moshe give instructions not only he didn't not only warn Pharaoh that it was happening, but he also warned the people. And so all the other people had witnessed all the other disasters. Remember, all of the Egyptians witnessed, and I shouldn't just say Egyptians, all those living in Egypt, because remember, Egypt was the world superpower, which meant that there were people from all over the world living in Egypt. Everyone had witnessed all the other disasters and how they had affected all the people. And so, believe me, that they were in a heightened sense of awareness to what was happening as well. So when the Hebrews began to prepare, and when they were being inquired of, well, why are you, why are you guys all getting lambs? And why are you guys all dressed like you're getting ready to leave? And why are you, then they would give a response. Today is the day of our redemption. And we are preparing for that. And so what would the Goy or the other nations or the Gentiles amongst them say? Well, how? Because we might as well do the same thing. On the flip side, you're going to have those who are going to say, we don't have to prepare. Yah has provided. Up until this point, he's going to do the same thing. Okay? So what ended up happening is some put blood over their door and some didn't. This provision was different because it did not separate based upon heritage, ethnicity, culture. It separated based upon obedience. Those people who put the blood over their door were not destroyed. Those who did not were. Scripture says that there was not a family there was not a family amongst the Egyptians, and that didn't mean that every family amongst the Egyptians, but there was not a family, like almost everyone in some capacity was affected by not applying the blood. Okay, this is very important, because that means that also Hebrews who did not heed to the message and did not prepare the Passover were also caught in the destruction. Okay, this is important. This gets into my point. If we don't prepare, we will be caught in the destruction. Watching what just happened with Harvey, watching what just happened with Irma, and obviously we've had other types of destruction before this. But the reason why I think this triggered so close to home is that even some of our own still got caught up in some of the devastation and destruction, because we have an issue with heeding warnings. And our issue is mainly because we lack provision or preparedness to heed the warning. Most disasters affect in the capacity of devastation unto death, minority and the so-called black people. Why? We live day to day. We don't have provisions. We don't think far ahead, and we overconsume of things that we don't need and then lack the things that we do need. Okay, as a community. I'm getting ready to give you, after I finish my spiel, the information for if you don't know how to prepare your own disaster packs, and if you don't know how to prepare medical kits, you can buy them. When I first looked at them, I was like, ooh, that's a little expensive. But then I thought about it. I thought about some of you guys, I almost said you Negroes, you so-called Negroes, who are going to respond probably the same way that I responded. Then I thought about the price you pay for shoes, and the price you pay for hair, and the price you pay for cars you cannot afford, and the price you pay to impress people that are not going to be there when disaster comes, and the price you pay for your children to have overly expensive things that will not be able to feed them in these last days. And I said, you know what? We got money. We just don't spend it correctly. So before you spend your money incorrectly any further, I am going to plead with you to prepare. And the type of preparation that we're going to talk about is there's different stages of preparation. There's preparation for people who don't have a lot, but in the time of disaster need to move from one place to another to make it to places where there is a lot. Okay? The wilderness journey went from them remember they ate until they were full at the meal. They were ready to go because they said, this night you will see your redemption. The warning does not have to be repeated over and 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 over again. Okay? The Most High said, this is what you're going to do. And then this night, we have to be so sensitive to the move of the Ruach, to the move of the Father, that when he says go, we go. I spoke to a sister who was literally in the devastation that happened in Florida. And she was deciding at one point that she was going to stick it out. And she said she was sitting at work, and the instruction from the Father was so clear that it came down to, and I need you to grab this many gallons of gas and put 2 of them in this gas can and do X, Y, and Z and take this route, don't go this way. That clear. She was listening. She decided she was going to stay at first. She got up from her desk at work, went prepared for her and her sons, and got on the road. She got out of the city, didn't really understand probably why she needed the extra gas, outside of you might just need extra gas because the gas, remember, got really high, and almost ran out of gas before she got into the place that she was going, because obviously the traffic is backed up when everybody's leaving from an area. She gets out of her car to put the gas in her car that the Most High told her to prepare, and the people begin to come to her and swarm her to get her gas. We're talking about not major disaster. We're talking about hurricanes, a major hurricane, but hurricanes that happen all the time in those areas. People still unprepared though. Coming to her, it took another Hebrew to see her and had to literally draw his gun so she could put gas in her car so she could get to where she was going. But imagine had she not had the gas, then she wouldn't have gotten where she was going. And the interesting thing is that Irma changed courses and would have pretty much ended up right where she was if she had been stuck there because she wasn't listening. When the Father says go for this last captivity, that's what you're going to get. It's going to be the go, and you're going to listen to it, because remember, the window was small for our ancestors leaving Egypt. When he says go, even if it's go into the wilderness, it's time to go. It's not time, do I stay? Do I go? It's time to go, okay? So, preparedness. Some of you all will need to have preparations. If you're in areas where you can sustain other people, then you should be preparing as a place of refuge. So you should have food there. You should have water. You should have other things. Now, let me say this before I go any further, because I know how our people are. I've mentioned this before, and I'm going to say it again. And it's not because I'm mean, and it's not because I'm in this place where I may not need help. But I'm going to say this because our people have a problem. Do not be that person who doesn't support anything or anyone and then decide you're just going to knock on somebody's door and then show up and take food out of the mouths of the people that they have prepared for. Can't be that person. In a community, if you don't have the means to prepare, you should be... By the way, I'm not talking about me. You need to find somebody close to you. You need to find someone who is preparing and assist them in preparation. If you don't have land, then you need to either partner up with somebody, and you need to be looking at buying some. If you don't have a place of refuge, then you need to be partnering up with someone who has one and saying, look, I'm going to donate seeds. All of you have a problem giving people money because you don't trust your people. Then send seeds, send water, send non-perishables, so that when it's time for you and your family to leave, that there are provisions for you there, okay? Because you cannot continue to place the burden of your lack of preparedness on other people, okay? So in saying that, in the places where people are preparing for more people, we support them. For those of us, or you all, I don't know what position I will be in. I'm going to be in both because it's preparedness. For those of you who will be leaving from a metropolis area or from a metropolitan area or a city and traveling out into the country or somewhere where people have land, then you need to have enough resources to sustain you till you get to that place. So roughly 2 weeks of supplies for you and your family so that you can make it. The cool thing about the body and the cool thing about American bodies is that we're all overweight. So your 2-week meal, you could stretch it out a while and do some fasting in between. Fasting is important in preparation as well. You need to train your body to not be as hungry as it is on an American diet. You need to start reducing your intake so that you can sustain yourself if you don't have a meal. Some of you all are so addicted to processed foods and other things that if you just have those things removed, you're not going to be able to think straight and you're going to make some very irrational decisions. Okay? We have to be smart. We have to have our mind sharp. Okay? Preparing so that you can journey to the next place is important. Water is the most important. Water is more important than even food. Yes, Sister Sheila said it. Reducing meat and then next dairy. My family has already begun that. We've already begun it with not only ourselves, but our children. Because that is very, very important. There are hormones in meat that will cause you to go through types of withdrawals if you're not eating properly. And even if you are eating properly, go watch What the Health, not because of its message, because I'm not saying everybody should go vegan, but you need to know about the stuff that is going into your food even when you think you're eating right. Okay? So that's very, very important. Medical supplies. A lot of people prepare food and other things, but they don't prepare medical supplies, and they don't prepare water treatment things. So you need to have those. The next thing is, once you have your 2 weeks worth of food, I am recommending, and this is not something maybe that everybody would recommend, but I do recommend it because, excuse me, once your body goes through that process where it can actually absorb nutrients properly, if you end up outside of this 2 week period or outside of your resources that you've packed, if you go through them too fast or whatever, buy sprouting seeds. Sprouting seeds. This year at Sukkot, we will be showing different kind of seeds that sprout. And those sprouted seeds, you can't just eat seeds like the seeds that grow plants, but certain seeds sprout. And for those sprouting seeds, you can ingest those, and they provide protein and nutrients. This is very, very important in case you get, and you don't need soil, you can actually just do it with water. If you get out into the wilderness, or if you get caught up in a specific location and you run out of food and there's no provisions, then you can take these sprouting seeds, sprout them, and they sprout within days. And you can begin to ingest them, and they will provide your body with enough live nutrients to carry you over until you make it to your destination, or until you find a place to plant, my next point, your survival seed pack. Every family should have a pack of survival seeds. You can get them for like $20 on Amazon. You need to get organic, heirloom, open pollinated though. You don't want to get anything else because it's not going to provide you with the proper nutrition, and they may not grow. So don't just go cheap and see the $5 pack and say, I'm getting this organic, heirloom, open pollinated. Because if you get to some dirt, and if you get somewhere that's secluded, you can then plant seeds and sustain yourself outside of a city, even in the wilderness. It's very, very important. Fear is not something to die over, okay? Fear is not something to die over. Fear of being outside is not worth dying over. Fear of animals is not worth dying over. Your fear is a what if. It's what if this happens? What if I encounter this? What if? Your what if can leave you in a position to die. It's better to take your chances with the natural elements that are controlled by Yah, right? Everything is obedient to Yah except for humans. It's better to take your chances in nature that still is obedient to Yah than to take your chance in a city with men who are possessed, who are scared, and who are coming to take your resources, okay, if you don't have that. My next thing was, not only seeds, but you also need an emergency kit. And I know this might sound really weird, but I even bought sutures, like the emergency stitching for our emergency kit, because you never know what's going to happen. Those kits come with betadine. Stay away from shelters and FEMA. Please do. Shelters and FEMA, you don't think of it like this because our brain, and I'll get back to my point, our brains have been conditioned by these Christian, end of days movies, by these concentration camps, how they're going to initially look. I think they'll eventually look a lot like that. But we're looking at these death centers. We're looking, and remember in history, none of the death centers look like death centers until they started killing people in them. Okay? So, think about that. Okay? You get people in concentrated areas, disease travels. These people who are going into these centers don't eat like us. They don't eat a Yah-based diet. They eat the abomination, which means they carry diseases and bacteria. And you get those people into one area, and they're going to start spreading those diseases. Some of these people are coming out of who knows what and who knows where. And all that stuff concentrated into a building where you can't leave. And it would be nothing for the government to say in a time of a disaster like in Harvey or someplace else, if you don't have a home to go back to, we're not releasing you to the streets to be homeless, so you must stay here. You see how easy it would be to get caught up in a concentration center? and then it become a camp, and then it become the place where now you're forced to live and be at the mercy of someone else. And then once you decide to leave, what if they just said you can't leave unless you take this, or unless you get this, or unless you get this vaccine, or unless we tag you so that we know where you are and we can track you just in case this disaster happens again. See how that just gets weird? As a people, we should not be relying on those type of facilities or the government for the housing and protection of our people. But at the same time, our people have to change their mentality and the way that they think before people will want to just open their doors to you. Because I'm going to be honest, our people are a little scary. And I'm not talking about scary because we're like people of color, or because we're black, or because we're, niggas. I'm talking about scary because we have some of the most ungrateful and some of the most flaky people in our community. Where I've heard stories of people letting people onto their land, and then people like telling people that they were living on their land, and then getting people kicked off their land. See, our people have an issue, okay? We need to resolve that before these things happen, because you don't want to be turned away. Back to my other point. If you are not helping prepare, I don't know if this goes for everyone, but if you are not helping prepare, if you are not contributing, and there is a lack of provision, there are places, and my place may be one of them, depending on how bad things get, where you'll have to be sent with a care package and turned away, because you are being warned right now. If you're listening to me and you know me and you're going to try to come here, you are being warned. You should be preparing. Like, you should be preparing. As others are preparing for you, you should be preparing for yourself and helping them prepare. Don't put yourself in a position to where somebody has to say, what you say, person that just told me, no, I don't want to do this, or no, we don't do this, or I'm not giving to this, or we don't have to give seeds there. Prepare. Okay? All right, so I'm going to give you a couple of things. I told you about the emergency medical kit. In the emergency medical kit, they have sutures. There are, just in case, your kid can gash their legs open, you might have to sew it up. I mean, think about some of the stuff you've seen in these movies when it comes to people not having the proper provisions. Kid can break their arm, you need a sling. You need to be able to wrap it. You need to keep going if that's the case. You need to have Band-Aids. You need to have topical ointment. You need to have snake bite anti-venom application. You need to know how, if you get bit by a poisonous snake, how to deal with that. You need to have dry clothes. And I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna show you the pack that I picked, and you can add anything you need from there. You need to have a water filtration system of some sort. You need to have masks just in case, biochemical. You need to put something over your face, over your children's face. I recommend gas masks if you have the provision for them, but in some of these survival kits, especially the one I have, it does have some provision for breathing. A gas mask may be something that you have to buy in time, definitely for us, because they're pretty expensive and we have 2 children. And those of you who have more children, obviously you're going to need more provisions. And so, but the 2 packs I'm going to recommend, and by the way, I don't get a dime from these 2 things. I was just really up doing research, and these are the ones that I thought, based upon our needs, would be the best. Okay. Get to my page. All right. So the first one was I bought bulk lentils. So I was talking about if you run out of provisions, you can sprout things. If you have the means to carry bulk, I recommend finding something that maybe if you have more than one person or a husband, he can put it in his backpack or in a pool cart or in a stroller. If you have to do walking, if you're driving, then you could just pack it all into your car. But if you run out of gas, obviously you have to then choose what stuff you're going to take. But you can buy lentils in bulk if you're thinking about if you live in an area that's not heavily populated and you're preparing for others, or if you're going to have to journey to somewhere else. Lentils packed in protein. They're packed with protein, and they're easy to cook, and they don't have a off-putting taste, and they last a long time. Lentils are something that you should have. Very, very important. Okay, beans, if you're packing, like storing up in your own home, beans, crackers, peanut butter, last for indefinitely. Okay, and then there is it's called Wise Company, Wise. And they have a website. I'm trying to find it on my list. They have is it this one? Yes. Okay. So they have a website and they sell like backpacks with food packs. They have one for 2 weeks. And then if you have a bunch of people, obviously you have to buy more. Or if you're packing other food, then you can go with the survival backpack, which has some survival kit things in it. And then you can supplement those things. Okay. The next one is legacyfoodstorage.com. And they have a premium family survival kit. It's for a family of 4. It's $229. But in the kit, it has, I'm just going to read some of the things. It has flashlight and chargers. You'll need batteries, I think. You'll have 4 emergency reflective sleeping bags. So these are bags you can just get in and they'll keep you warm. 4 emergency plastic rain ponchos, a two-person tube tents. You have 4 8-hour hand warmers. You have 24 4.2 ounce emergency drinking water pouches, a hygiene kit, which has a lot of contents in it. You're going to have a 60-piece first aid kit. You're going to have a multi-tool knife. It has a can opener. It has working gloves. It has waterproof matches. It has a preparedness guide in it. It has a weatherproof zip bag so you can put extra clothes in there if you need to. It has 10 purification tablets or powder for water. It has a water tablet instruction booklet so you can learn how to purify your water. Light sticks. It's going to come with tweezers, gloves, self-stick bandages, 4 breathing masks, and then a regular 53-piece first aid kit. And then the hygiene kit comes with a toothbrush and all these things. This one weighs 20 pounds. Okay, and you can look through the whole list and find that there. Okay. Next, I just saw a question. Where do we go if we flee? If you don't have a specific location, and times do get that bad to where you can't coordinate or get in touch with somebody online or call somebody or email me and tell me your location, I can kind of find a person. If times get so bad to where we can't and you have to leave, go toward water. Okay? That's where you're going to go. You're going to go toward preferably wooded water areas, mountainous areas. You're going to go into the mountains. Okay? Don't go to a beach. That's salt water. You're going to go toward the mountains. Mountains normally get more rainfall. Don't go so high up in the mountains where you can't grow anything. Okay? Look, you need to know now, though, what mountains are close to you, how long it takes to get there, how long of a journey it takes to get there. Everyone should have a bicycle, too. Bicycles are important because bicycles have wheels. You get to place faster. And then if you can get there, if you have children, you can hook up any kind of pull cart to it. I would recommend, it's kind of interesting, there are some ill-prepared homeless people, but homeless people are very creative when it comes to how they transport their belongings. And so you're going to be, you're going to probably be hooking up things in ways that you probably never thought you would before. That's why it's important to have rope in your survival kits, which this one does as well. Okay, so the other kit was the one with the food in it, and I'm looking for it right now. Yes. Okay, it's called Wise Food Storage. So WISEFOODSTORAGE.com. They have a variety of things. Now, if you have money and you're like, I'm staying here, my place is safe, they literally sell like year supplies of food packs in those like packages, and their stuff is vegetarian, so you don't have to worry about getting stuff that has pork in it. I don't know if it's organic, but if you are a person that's like, look, I am not the person that's going to be packing boxes and food and trying to make sure the food's stored properly, then this may be the way to go for you. So the Wise 2-week deluxe emergency survival kit, it's like a camo bag. It's $2.49 plus shipping. And in there, you're going to get food, but it also comes with waterproof matches, waist bags, a nylon rope, a first aid kit, 12-hour bright sticks, a 30-hour emergency candle. It comes with dust mask, 2 hygiene kits, emergency ponchos, but it's just 2, a 5-in-1 survival whistle, a shovel, a Swiss Army knife, okay, water pouches again. This one comes with a portable stove fuel tablets, a knife and a spoon, fork, and 44 servings of this food. And it gives you the caloric intake for the servings of each of the packets. So that kit is $249.99, and it's 2 weeks for one person or 1 week for 2 people. And you can buy more than one. It comes in a bag or a backpack, so it's something you can just throw on and put together. There are lists, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a page and just post the links to this stuff. And then I'll also post a link post a link to one of the lists that people have put together where they said this has worked out for them. And so in there I'll also put my email as well, so that we can kind of get people who are in areas. One of the sisters, I don't know if she's on this video because she moderates on Maury's videos, but she created a email so that people didn't have to put their emails in the live stream if they didn't want to. But I'll also go ahead and put together a registration, like not a registration form. I keep saying registration form every time I make a form, but just a form on the website. And so you can put in your place, your location, and then your email. And then what I'll do is I'll organize people by name, email, location, and then make that list available through email to people who have signed up. So if I see people concentrate a location, I'll just send you guys all each other's contact information, or I can do it where it's passworded, which may be easier. So I don't have to be the person emailing every time somebody signs up. I'll make it so that it's passworded, and then when you sign up, I'll send you all the password, and you can go in and look at the list and see who's in your area and get their contact information. Okay, so I have those 2. I have that, so I'll post that Wise 2-week deluxe, and I'll also post the website so you can see what other stuff they offer as far as food storage. I'll also provide you with that bag, the emergency kit that has like the sutures and other emergency things in it. It's like a first responder bag, which will be important, maybe not just for you, but for somebody else. And then, if you look on the live feed, Daniela is posting actually that link to that email. Okay, and then to end with this, make sure I covered all the things I want to cover, because you don't even understand how heavy this is weighing on me, and I literally feel better even now. Your job prepares you for nothing, okay? Your job, most people's jobs, and especially even if you make a lot of money, you probably live in a bracket, or you live in a place that still makes it difficult to save. The only thing your job does, outside of obviously provide for you and your family, is give you enough money so you have to keep coming back to work. That is what a job does. And so we need to be careful that we don't get caught up in that mentality, because a lot of people in times of disaster don't leave because of their jobs. And I know it's important to take care of your family, and I know it's important to provide for your family, but it keeps you distracted, and it keeps your mind on the right here, the right now. And we have to begin to think further. Our jobs are not just so we can have cable. Our jobs are not just so we can have a cell phone bill. Our jobs are not just for us to buy clothes and shoes for our children, but our jobs as a Hebrew is so that we are good stewards, and that in these last days we can prepare to remove ourselves, so that when this destruction, not if, when this destruction hits all these places, we are ready. It's happened in other places all over the world. America is not above reproach. The blood, as it said in scripture, that cries out from the ground still does so. And the fact that our ancestors have been killed, raped, and murdered here is going to cry out to the Father. It's crying out, how long? How long? And so we have to be prepared so that we don't receive the wrath of the Father by being in wrath's past. Being sealed has to do with preparation. Noah was sealed in the ark. So this idea of waiting for a physical seal on your body, sealing, the seal is because of obedience to the word of Yah. That's how you are sealed. You're not going to walk around with this little mini badge where nothing's going to bother you. You're going to be sealed because you're going to obey and get out of the way. Okay? That's your seal. Those who know Torah will obey Torah and get their behinds out of the way. And by getting out of the way, then the Most High is then allowed to put you in protected places. And then in that sense, he will then not allow harm to come to the place that you got away from. Okay? But don't also be so caught up that when you get to a safe place that you don't move if trouble does come in your area. Okay? Very, very, very important. We have to prepare. We have to prepare. The reason I'm making this online is because we will be discussing this heavily at Sukkot this year. And I know a lot of people won't be able to make it. And I do not feel like it's fair just because people are not able to be in a certain place that they cannot hear the information. Oh, okay. So those people we have people who have military experience and people who have other experience. And so that will all be being compiled. And then whatever we come away with, even from there, that will also be shared. We are a community, even though we are scattered. And so it is the responsibility of those who are knowledgeable or who feel the burden to share this information that we do it, because we will be without excuse. Now, those of you who have heard, you need to share it so that people know that they're without excuse. The Father is not getting ready to do Christian magic. The Father is calling us through his word to read, to understand these things, to discern the times, and then to do and handle accordingly. If it doesn't happen in our generation, okay. But the way things look, it doesn't look that way. And it doesn't mean that America can't fall and we can't end up in devastation and the rest of the world keep going on like nothing happened, okay? So be careful that you don't get caught up in the American fantasy and in your westernized religious thinking, and that you do as all of our forefathers have done before us and have prepared. Egypt would have never survived the famine without Yosef preparing. No one in his family, and we wouldn't exist, had he not believed Yah and prepared. Moshe told the people to prepare. It is our job to be obedient and to prepare. Okay, so that's my spiel. I will post this information and then I'll put it, you'll have to come back later to the video, but I'll put the link for the information on the website that I'll post. I'll post the how to pack your own bag, how much the bag costs, if you want to put it in a bag or if you want to put it in buckets, I don't know. You take your choice. How to pack those, and then it'll give you the list of things that you would need for a pack. And what else? I don't have anything else. I just really was really shaken up by how unprepared we are for all kinds of disasters. If you don't live in hurricane way, you live near tornadoes, these disasters are going to begin to get stronger. Not only are they being oh yeah, and watch YouTube. There are so many preppers. There's a guy named Sukkot Prepper. Like, that is very important. Leads me into my other point. Feast days, feast days, feast days. What are the purpose of feast days? Specifically Sukkot. Sukkot, to me, my favorite. I love them all, but Sukkot is my favorite. Why? Sukkot is the disaster preparedness feast day. For those of you who are in these camps that are telling you it's unimportant to keep feast days, yeah, they don't understand the meaning behind the feast days. Sukkot teaches you how to live in community. It teaches you how to live with limited provisions. It teaches you how to get along and how to rely on other people and how to barter and how to share and how to trade and how to look over each other's children. That's why it's important. Thinking that you don't need to gather when Yah says they are holy convocations mean that you need to be with someone. You should be making provisions to participate in feast days as well so that you can get around other people and you can see what you do and do not have. One of the cool things about Sukkot is if you participate in Sukkot, you probably already have some of the things on that list because you need to bring them to Sukkot. You're going to have a tent. You're going to have something to cook with. You're going to have disposable dishes. You're going to have wipes. You're going to have all these things. Those things are super important. And because you're preparing for Sukkot, that means that every year you should be preparing your disaster preparedness kit because that's what you take with you to Sukkot. The Most High has these things intricately built in to his word. Every year, everyone should be repacking or re-prepping their disaster preparedness kit because you should be participating in Sukkot. You should be leaving outside of your home and showing your children how it feels to live outside. So, I'm saying all that because we have to read. I keep saying that over and over again because those things are in the Word. Sukkot is a perpetual feast. It never stops. Even if you are one of those people who don't understand which ones we should still be keeping, that one is kept into eternity. It's how you prepare, okay? Yes, even if you are not in the last year, we ended up, this is very interesting, you can ask me about it at another time, but we went to a Sukkot that turned into like a Klan rally, no lie. Like we were forced to leave. And we ended up having to finish our Sukkot in a backyard. We finished in the backyard because it's better than not doing it at all. You need to get out. You need to get outside. You need to get to a local park. Yeah, it's very important. Yes, Ash, literally. Like my husband was asked to speak, and when he mentioned that maybe not all Jews, as many people believe, are white, those people literally told us that we needed to leave. And if we ever came back, then they would never support that group's Sukkot ever again. Yeah, pretty bad. Yeah. So, yeah, so tent, is a cabin acceptable tent? Yeah, if you have a cabin, yeah, that is. Just also have a tent just in case you have to leave that cabin. We just don't want to get caught up in permanent structures, especially in a time if we are being forced to move. It's very important. It's very, very important. These last days are going to really, really push unity. I saw Ash post that. It is really, really going to push unity. You're going to really see who is for you and who is not. And a lot of that comes in how they're telling you to prepare. I'm not saying that I'm some kind of great person because, it might not be. You don't know me. But what I am saying is when you are following these groups and these leaders and they are not telling you to prepare, it's because they are ill-prepared. And a prepared leader is a good leader. And so as you are going out and you're watching these videos, really, really, really take into mind what's being taught and why it's being taught. Because we are moving into times where there is going to be an influx in false teachers, and we're even seeing it now. And a lot of that will come in the guise of you don't have to prepare. You don't have to prepare. Actually, maybe think of a verse, and then I'm going to get out of your way. It's in the book of Jeremiah when destruction was coming, and Jeremiah was telling them to prepare. I'm looking it up now. I think it's, where is it? Jeremiah was telling them about the destroyer coming to every town. I think this is in 48:8. I was trying to look for the part where the other preachers responded and said, oh, no destruction is coming because Yah is with us and he's going to guide, he's going to protect us. And Jeremiah's like, no. It's going to be ruined. And the false preacher preached against the message of Jeremiah, saying that no destruction was going to come and that the Most High was going to protect them if it did. And the Most High had already removed his hand of protection so that he could execute his judgment. We have to be very, very cognizant of when the Most High has removed his hand of protection and judgment is coming. Okay, so we're going to prepare. We're agreeing, yes. We're going to do that because nobody wants to deal with the screaming and crying of a hungry child and having to decide what they're going to do and who's going to live. That should not be the decision of that shouldn't be the decision of a parent to have to decide who eats and who lives and who dies because they weren't prepared, because they didn't believe. Diapers, yes. Also cloth diapers, you can always wash them in water and dry them. And the water, I mean, you would prefer to have clean water, but if you can get by some water, it's better than no water. Also, we do not want to get into, don't get so caught up, and I know this is probably going to cause some contention, but I'm going to say it anyways because I feel like I need to. Don't get so caught up in what people look like if they're following Torah and they are sent to help you, or you are supposed to help them. Don't be that person. You can be that person, but you're not a person that I want to be involved with, because you will miss your blessing or kill somebody else because they don't look like you. If a person, first and foremost, are in Torah and they are willing to follow the laws, or if they're not, and your prerequisite to helping them is, look, if you're going to come here and receive the benefits of being here, if somebody has land, and you need to keep Torah, those same rules that applied to our ancestors apply now. If a sojourner is among you, so let's say you leave your city and your neighbor leaves too. Hey, we're doing this Yah's way. So I don't care if you white, green, black, blue. This is how we're doing this. You're not going to be doing this. You will not bring abomination with you or create abomination while you're with me, because that brings disaster to me. And if a person agrees to follow Yah in the time of disaster because they're agreeing that he is salvation and his salvation is coming in that time, you do not turn a person away because of how they look if they are agreeing to follow Torah. That BS that other people are talking about, you don't want to stand in the judgment and say, oh, well, this person wanted to follow Torah, but you then told them no because of the color of their skin. Us here who are like-minded, we are not going to do that because we don't have the final say. It says to Judah and his companions, and to Israel and their companions, meaning that there will be Judah and there will be Israel, and the companions are those who have grabbed a hold to, or are cleaving to them for the salvation that is for those who are in the fold. Do not turn people away that want to walk and keep Torah. Okay? Especially in the time of disaster. All right? Okay, so yes, just like they left out a mixed multitude, meaning people from all over. Now you have to be careful, because you are going to be tried by those if they are not keeping Torah. But we need to really, 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 really prepare. And yes, in prayer, but prayer meaning prayerfully packing that bag, and prayerfully getting an exit plan, and prayerfully doing these things, not praying and not doing anything, okay? This faith in these last days is a faith of action, not a faith of stagnant sitting and waiting for the Father to come and do something that he's already told you to do. Yeah, I didn't come down and build that ark for Noah. He told him to do it. He instructed him. He made sure that he had the strength and provision to do so. But Noah and his family built that ark, and Yah closed and sealed them and kept them through the storm. All right? So let's just be really careful in these last days. Let's be mindful. I'll also put some information on that list and on that website that I do not want to put in the video, because I do not want to have buzzwords in the video and then draw undue attention to myself or anyone here. Okay, I'm so glad I got that off my chest. Today, for all of you who do follow the channel, will be the first Like a Child Hebrew lesson. I tried to record it last night and my camera didn't work. So, yeah, so that'll be the first, we'll do that lesson today. And then tomorrow we will have our first lesson, as I'm going to teach through A Wise Woman Builds Her House. Also, for people who were not able to purchase the book in full price, I was not able to put it up in Kindle, but I am going to add it to the website, and you can get it for a discounted price in a PDF, and you can download it from there. That'll also be available today. So Hebrew lesson number 1 for Learn Like a Child for mothers and their children will be today. Tomorrow we'll be going through our first lesson. They will not be in order through the book, but I am going to go through the first lesson out of A Wise Woman Builds Her House. So if you have a copy, tune in. We'll do that. I haven't decided if I'm going to do these live or not, so that's something we can discuss at a later date after I post the first one. All right. Can you get it on Amazon? You can get it on Amazon for regular price. It's actually discounted on Amazon right now for $13. If $20 was a bit much. Amazon takes a liberty whenever they feel to discount books that you put up online, which I don't mind. So yes, roadmaps will be on there. So all that information will be in that disaster repair kit. Hebrew lesson today, Learn Like a Child. Tomorrow, A Wise Woman Builds Her House. And we will revisit this again and again. Whenever the Most High prompts, we will revisit this issue of being prepared, because it's important. Obedience, obedience, obedience. Shalom, shalom.